Good morning, afternoon or evening, ladies and gentlemen, Allincrypto here, and welcome back, guys. What is going to be nothing short of another jam-packed daily cryptocurrency market update. And as always, we have a hell of a lot to cover. We're going to be starting the video off by taking a look at Bitcoin and the price action that we've been seeing since March. The cryptocurrency space at large has been correcting since March in a very pullback-esque fashion. However, Bitcoin very much trading like an unloved commodity. The swings that we are seeing are volatile ones, and the altcoin market is really just capitulating under this weakness. So we will be starting the video off there. It's not all bad news though, because we do think the price structure that we're seeing is setting us up for broader upside. We've spoken about some more short to mid-term to more broader out targets for Bitcoin and thus the cryptocurrency space. Then we're going to be diving over and covering some news from Nvidia. Now, there was rumors circulating in the rumor mill yesterday that Nvidia had been subpoenaed by the DOJ, the Department of Justice. Nvidia themselves have came out and essentially dismissed these claims. And people looking at Nvidia and really applying the question of, well, how long can this possibly go on for? But we think it's got further upside to come generally, along with the stock market more broadly. It's all pushed by global liquidity cycles. And we think, of course, in this environment, the cryptocurrency space is going to be one of the better performers. Then we're going to be talking about some news from Kamala Harris's campaign involving Coinbase, looking at businesses now holding Bitcoin, talking about a new filing with the SEC for a crypto equity premium income ETF. We're going to see more of these coming, ultimately unlocking capital. And then we'll be talking about some legal stuff. We've got news that United Texas Bank has been slapped with a cease and desist order from the Federal Reserve government for significant deficiencies in servicing crypto clients. So the war on crypto continues. But as promised, let's kick things off, ladies and gentlemen, with a little bit of Bitcoin price action. So we've covered and we did a specific Bitcoin video in regards to the potential for a $309,000 Bitcoin. And I've shown you plenty of examples of other charts that consolidated around all-time highs, ultimately setting up a broader continuation pattern that took them higher. Some of them are made there, sort of cup and handle targets. Others are still to get there. There's a confluence of patterns all pointing in an upward direction. And we think the environment that we are in is going to support that. Or certainly going into, the Fed. It came out from Citi yesterday. The Fed are, of course, going to cut rates. Citi expecting a 50 basis points, so a half a point decrease on the Fed rate. Of course, this is going to drive the Dixie down. Dollar weakness, ultimately good for liquidity. And we think crypto performs well, but you've got to be in it to win it, and you've got to survive the volatility that we're seeing. And talking about volatility, we always use a log chart because for us as kind of macro investors, more bigger time investors, we like to position a market when we think it's going up. We like to get it out of a market when we think it's going down. In broader trend terms, we don't like to sort of catch every bottom and every top on the way up. I know my own ability, guys. I don't believe that I can time, if you look at Bitcoin, for example, this bottom, this top, this bottom, this top, this bottom, this top. I think at one point you make a mistake, and that's a very costly one, certainly in what can be a very explosive market like the cryptocurrency space. But if we take it off log for once, you can see just the volatility that you're seeing here. Bitcoin from 72K down to 56, up to 72K, down to 54, up to 70K, down to 48, up to 64, 5K, down to 55. These are big moves, and you can see by taking it off log, we really get that kind of a view of it. And ultimately, the altcoin market throughout this period that Bitcoin's just been going down has really just capitulated under its weight. Ultimately, though, when you look at altcoins, there are very promising signs in regards to their basing. We teach in our market mastery course how markets move in 4 stages. Many altcoins still in that phase 1, ready for that phase 2. It aligns with all the kind of cycles that we look at, cyclical cycles that give confluence to the direction we think we're going in, and also some of the predictive mechanisms that we have for Bitcoin. So Friday is going to be a big day in regards to potential turnarounds. We're getting the non-farm payroll report. I think this is going to come out better than expected, in line with the Bank of America's forecast. And I think you're going to see that unemployment come down slightly. It's not massively, maybe to 4.2 from 4.3. So we are watching and waiting for that with bated breath. However, Bitcoin, in regards to its recent price action, it's kind of trading like an unloved commodity. What can you take away from this price action? Well, the volatility, I don't think, is a symptom of interest. I think it's a symptom of a lack of, and it's very much just when a direction is taken, it goes with it to both the up and the downside due to a real lack of interest. However, we do think that interest is coming back in a big way. Certainly in the coming months, October, November are going to be big ones to watch. It's all about surviving September. Let's move on to a little bit of Nvidia news. Nvidia, I feel like, is a real talking point in regards to the markets generally because it's the largest stock in the world, that a large part of the S&P and the indexes within the United States are made up of Nvidia and, of course, the big stocks. And I've seen nothing but continued silliness in regards to shorting or trying to call the top on Nvidia take place. And there was rumours yesterday that Nvidia were slapped with a subpoena from the DOJ. Now, Nvidia says it didn't receive an antitrust subpoena from the DOJ. Nvidia denied reports that it had received a subpoena from the Department of Justice over antitrust concerns. To quote, "We have inquired with the US Department of Justice, get your words out, all in, and have not been subpoenaed. Nonetheless, we are happy to answer any questions regulators may have about our business," a representative told CNBC. And I think given where Nvidia currently is, people looking at this as a bit of a double top, but this ultimately could set up broader continuation that could maybe see Nvidia run into the sort of high 171k. This has been a chart that's done very well. Again, you can see how phases play out. We're in a phase 2 at the moment, looking for a potential turning at some point. I don't think it's coming yet. Certainly if the sort of liquidity cycles and everything align. Some very interesting news is in regards to Kamala Harris's campaign. We've got, it appears now, 2 potential presidents that seem to be a little bit more friendly with the cryptocurrency space, which is a big shift from Biden's current regime. However, I would say, again, we put our personal opinion across here that Trump, for me, is more bullish on the industry if he wins than Kamala. However, the interesting thing here is she's now accepting crypto campaign donations via Coinbase. And the irony is here that the SEC is currently suing Coinbase. You know, the US Marshal Service, they actually use Coinbase to custody. There was funds moved to Coinbase, yet they're being sued. You know, the regulations or the approach from the SEC, for me, is really just to stall this industry, not to destroy it, because we see contradictions just like this one across the board. So some interesting news coming out of Harris's campaign. An interesting chart that I want to show you guys. This is aggregate business Bitcoin holdings, public companies and private companies. And you can see there is a consistent buying and uptrend in regards to businesses actually holding Bitcoin. I would suggest that during this pullback period, you have seen, and we see it in regards to high value Bitcoin wallets, accumulation taking place, ready for that broader upside continuation. We do ultimately think that's on the cards. It's just a weak market right now. There's a real lack of interest. The good news is it will come back, and it will come back in a big way. And the markets are very technically positioned to do very well on the back end of that. More interesting news. This is from Eric Balanchunas, the guy to watch when it comes to ETF and equity filings within the United States. RexShares has filed for a crypto equity premium income ETF, which is basically Block meets JEPI. Not familiar with either of those. But we are going to see consistently more of these. The future we're moving towards isn't just one where we have a Bitcoin ETF, an Ethereum ETF, and a Solana ETF. It's one where we have a lot of coins trading as equities and unlocking and finding themselves in portfolio managers' portfolios for really the sake of diversification in what is an emerging technology. And that's a very bullish fundamental future that we have that kind of couples with everything else that we're looking at from a sort of technical point of view. A lot of legal news out today. So we spoke about how Ripple was set to pay the $125 million on the 6th of September, which I believe is tomorrow. Now, this is interesting. Ripple's lawyers asked for a stay of the $125 million judgment due in September the 6th, with a proposal to hold 111% of the amount, $139 million, in a controlled account until 30 days after the appeal period resolution. Now, this does suggest there might be an appeal from the SEC. However, we shall see. And we're not trying to purposely make that rhyme there. So the SEC can still appeal the Ripple case. But we do know they've taken defeat after defeat. And ultimately, I think Ripple winning this case is bullish for the entire industry. I mean, the most crazy thing from the SEC was them, of course, suing OpenSea. You've got Paul Grewal, who's the chief legal officer over at Coinbase. An update in our FOIA, which is the Freedom of Information Act, litigations against the FDIC. Today we filed this notice of anticipated motions. In short, the public is entitled by law to every letter the FDIC sent to any financial institution suggesting that they identified, indefinitely pause crypto-related activities. We appreciate the court's consideration. So Freedom of Information Act, we know that there's been a kind of choke point, whatever, or sort of move from various jurisdictions or various agencies under the United States to essentially stifle this industry. And ultimately, you know, Paul is very much on the forefront of getting the information that has been sort of under wraps put out there. And I think there's a lot of things that are going to come out. This was literally breaking today, 5th of September, Thursday. Crypto-friendly United States or United Texas Bank has been slapped with a cease and desist order from the Federal Reserve over significant deficiencies in servicing crypto clients, identifying significant deficiencies related to foreign correspondent banking and virtual currency customers, specifically risk management and compliance with applicable laws, rules, and regulations relating to anti-money laundering, including the Bank Security Act. So there's a kind of, this is really what all this regulatory headwind is about. There's a kind of reining in of this industry that is taking place. But ultimately, once that's taken place and the United States has positioned itself at the kind of head of it or in a key position to benefit from it, they will allow it to succeed. And that's what Gensler's job largely is. Certainly you can derive that from the lack of any kind of protection to participants in the cryptocurrency space at the SEC thinks they have jurisdiction over. They didn't do anything in regards to FTX or any of the other horror stories that we've survived in the cryptocurrency market. You know, it's been an interesting 2 years. We've been obviously back in the market since 2023, positioning, and ultimately these things take time. And that's the whole concept of being an investor. You're investing in something to reap the rewards at a later date. And we think the cryptocurrency space very much offers that opportunity. So that is it from me, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed this daily market update as much as I enjoyed presenting it. And on that note, I'm going to love and leave you. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I will see you all in the next one.